Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Penamani-Kress, and I'm the Director of Admissions at the University of Kansas. And we want to thank you for being on this update today. We know you all have very busy schedules, and we appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with us. And we know this semester has been unlike any others you've probably experienced so far. So thank you for all the hard work you're doing with your students and all the hard work you do all the time. But this has just been a crazy 2020 year. I'm sure you all feel that way probably pretty regularly, as we do here in Lawrence as well. So again, thanks for all that you do. We have several people on the call today, and we're going to share some important updates about the University of Kansas with you. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to unmute or put it in the chat. I'll be watching the chat and be happy to answer any of those questions along the way. And so we are just going to go in order of introductions here, and that way you can see who will be speaking. And kicking us off today is Dr. Matt Melvin. So we're going to do introductions first, and then Dr. Melvin will be back on to give some updates.
Hello, everyone. Matt Melvin, Vice Provost for Enrollment Management.
Hi, I'm Chris Anderson. I'm the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Programs at the School of Business. And joining me today is our Recruiting Coordinator, Elizabeth Carr.
Thanks, Chris. I'm Elizabeth Carr, Recruiter and Academic Advisor with the School of Business.
Hi, everyone. I am Sarah Crawford Parker, and I'm the Director of the University Honors Program.
This is Chris Wiles. I'm the Assistant Dean of the University of Kansas School of Engineering.
All right, thanks everyone. And you'll be hearing from everyone that just introduced themselves. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Melvin.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. I just wanted to, again, thanks everyone for taking time out of your day to kind of get some updates. It's a weird enough year already, and then I look out my window today and we've got snow on the ground, and it's not even end of October, so I just don't know what's going on. Who knows what tomorrow will bring us. But just to give you some quick updates in terms of where we're trying to serve students and their families at KU moving forward. And we've had those assured admissions pathways for a couple of years now, since 2016, that were score dependent and looked at GPA. But we were able to, working with the Board of Regents, trying to quickly respond, because we know so many people, particularly if you're out of state, are having difficulty taking the test. And I really thought that would be coming. We'd open things up and it would be easier to test, but I just don't know how it's going to happen for the next months or across the spring semester. So what we created is a third assured pathway for students that have good, strong GPAs coming out of high school, but maybe not have had that opportunity to test, or if they've had a test, they don't have an opportunity to retest. It really takes some of that anxiety and nervousness off the plates of those students that were very frantic about tests, take some of that pressure off. So what we have is that assured pathway for 3-4. And again, what we want to make sure, and we've always been more about access than selectivity. So if you've got a student that you're working with, again, it's all about academic fit. We want to make sure students can engage in our curriculum and engage in the co-curriculum and be successful students here. So if you've got a student that's had a really strong, rigorous high school series of courses, but maybe at a 3-3 or a little under that 3-4, we certainly don't want to discourage them to apply. We want them to encourage them to apply, and we'll do more holistic review. But again, as part of our process, we wanted to be, making sure that those assured admissions criteria were there. So 3-4, weighted or unweighted GPA, it provides an assured pathway for admissions. And we're seeing, I think about 18% of our students now are coming through, the admits today are coming through that assured pathway. And they may give us a score, they may not give us a score, but again, just wanted to create that opportunity for students to kind of help them along the path and again, try to respond to what the market is telling us in terms of the inability for particularly some states to not even have an opportunity to take a test. So that gives you a sense of those assured criteria. Obviously, closely following that as we look at scholarship eligibility. So go ahead and hit the next slide. We will continue to have our transparent scholarship matrix for those that have GPA and tests. So those awards have been out and they're out of the chute, and we'll continue to look at those and make sure those students are aware of that. But we're also crafting a test optional path that for students that are going to be not having tests, we don't want to eliminate them from merit scholarship opportunities. We certainly have need-based scholarships. We're trying to rebalance that as we speak, but we want them to make sure that there's the merit approach has been historical and what we've communicated across the years in terms of test and score. And then we'll also create a test optional path. So no students will be hurt or harmed as a result of having a test or not having a test. So there'll be equity in those decisions. So we get the question as we started opening up campus visits a little bit in terms of, well, will I be hurt or harmed? Should I sit on my test? Tell us our test score. What we're going to do is craft a packaging philosophy that's equitable and consistent across those dimensions that we have. So we want to, again, make sure those students are eligible for scholarships, regardless if they have a test or not have a test. And again, those students will not be harmed. So as you're kind of coaching your students and families, let them know that there'll be equity in those decisions, and we'll try to get those decisions out as soon as we possibly can. And then we also want to encourage those students to fill out the FAFSA form. We're already in FAFSA season, and we know that's even more challenging, trying to get students to fill out the FAFSA when they don't have sometimes the contact that you've had with them in the schools. But that's kind of where we're sitting now in terms of the admissions application process for eligibility, but also then from scholarships. So again, we'll get those awards out in the next couple of months or next couple of weeks, really for both in-state and the out-of-state student population. So with that said, Lisa's going to talk a little bit about some dates and deadlines. Again, we've pushed some things back to provide more flexibility. And again, we want to just make sure that we're communicating these kind of milestones across the academic calendar.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Melvin. That's an important update for everyone. And I wanted just to remind you that you can find this in-state and out-of-state grid on our website. And we did update the language to reflect that students would be considered for scholarships on our website as well, whether or not they have a test score or not. So right now, we're awarding these scholarships. This is the in-state and this is the out-of-state. So if students apply now and are admitted now, they actually hear about this 7 to 10 days after their admission. And then, as Dr. Melvin just said, we just started this new process, and we haven't started sending out awards, scholarship awards to those without a test score. We are processing their admission, but have not started the scholarship award process for those without test scores. We're still working through that process, but they will be eventually sent out. So the most important message for students is to apply by our deadline. So I'm going to go over some deadlines. And then we did have a question in the chat, so I thought I'd go ahead and share with everyone. This GPA is whatever benefits the student. So weighted, or if they have a weighted GPA, that usually benefits the student. So and if they only have unweighted, that's fine too. But it's whatever benefits the student in terms of their GPA. But just a few things about our deadline. We actually were a little proactive even before COVID and changed our scholarship deadline to December 1st. In the past, it had been November 1st, and we are certainly glad we did that. I know a lot of schools were requesting a later deadline this year just because of the tests and the, like lack of ability to take the test, even though now students can be considered for scholarships without the test anyway. But we went ahead and put a November 1 early action deadline out there just to try to get students to apply early, because as many of you know, if you move the deadline later, they go ahead and wait and apply later. The early action deadline gives them a few little perks from the University of Kansas. They get a couple KU gifts. They do receive their scholarship notification early if they do qualify for a scholarship. If they apply and file the FAFSA by December 1st, we're going to send out a financial aid notification by the end of December. Normally, we don't send out financial aid notifications until mid-February. So anyone that applies, whether it's by November 1 or December 1, if they've applied and filed the FAFSA, if they've been admitted and filed the FAFSA by that early December timeframe, then they're going to hear their financial aid notification in late December. And then anyone that's admitted after that will start sending those financial aid notifications mid-February, and then on a rolling basis from that time. So this slide just says, if you want to apply by November 1, you have access to, you'll be able to select your orientation date a little bit earlier. You could go ahead and apply for housing, and then you're going to hear back from us a little bit earlier. But otherwise, the main deadline for students to apply for admission to the University of Kansas and to be considered for merit-based scholarship opportunities with or without a test score is that December 1 deadline. So we hope that's a good takeaway for you today, being at this update. And then admitted students can go ahead and fill out a housing application. It already opened in October. And we are going to allow students to continue to retake the test if they can and want to for scholarship reconsideration. So if they receive an award and would like to be reconsidered for that, they could try to take the test, or if their GPA improves and they have an updated GPA, they can let us know that. As long as they'd applied by December 1, we'll let them update their test score and GPA until April 1st. And then we have our standard enrollment deposit deadline of May 1st to make their decision to become a JHA.
But I don't know why I can't just do that.
And then we just wanted to share a little bit of information about visiting campus. We've been having on-campus visits since early September. They've been going very well. They follow all the safety precautions outlined by the University of Kansas for COVID and making sure they're small. So we are very much limiting the size of the campus visits and the size of the campus tour. And you can find all the information. You can encourage your students to check out all the on-campus visit options. They're set now through December 18th, and then we'll resume them in the spring starting on January 11th. We also offer a variety of virtual sessions regularly, whether they're academic virtual sessions, whether they're one-on-one time with the admissions representative, or whether they're just some unique programs. We've been doing some special virtual tours about housing, about our science buildings. We'll be doing them with some of our academic partners. And so there's a variety of virtual visit options as well. And all of our academic departments are also doing virtual visits, and that information can be found on the visit website. They're the visit.ku.edu. Only a select amount of academic partners are meeting with students while on campus. Most of them are meeting virtually. But we do have some on campus partners meeting with students when they're on campus, and that is part of when the student sets up their visit. That would be an option if that's available to them. If you have any questions about visits, be sure to let me know. We've been having great success and great feedback about our campus visits. I know families are just excited to be able to visit college campuses again. And so they've been going very well for us. And so please promote that if that's an option that your student is interested in. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Chris, and he's going to give some updates with the School of Business.
I'm going to let our recruiter, Elizabeth Carr, do the heavy lifting with a set of PowerPoint slides to kind of take us all through our admissions requirements and things like that. I just want to say that, we've got multiple routes for students to eventually graduate from the KU School of Business with their undergraduate degree. So we have direct admission for students as freshmen. Elizabeth's going to talk about what our standards are for that. We have many students who come to KU who don't directly meet our direct admission standards. They're admitted as pre-business students, and then there's a more convenient pathway for them to quickly come into the School of Business after their first year of college. We also take a lot of transfer students who come from other institutions, and of course many students come to KU, start in another major, change their major, and come into the School of Business also through what we refer to as the competitive admission process. We're really proud of our business school. We've got a lot of great amenities and enrichment activities for students. We have great outcomes in terms of placements with our employment partners at the end of the pipeline. And I'm just going to turn it over to Elizabeth, and she'll take you through this now. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me or Elizabeth directly, or have families or students get in touch with us about their processes and their decision-making for next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. So yeah, we do, as Chris said, we do have a few different ways for students to be admitted to the School of Business. So on this slide, you'll see this grid with our direct admission, so students can find their test score if they have a test score. And we are using the 2018 ACT/SAT concordance table. So if you're looking for a conversion, that's the one we've used on this chart. And then students can find their high school GPA, and that's either weighted or unweighted, whichever benefits the student the most. And if they fall into the blue area, they can be directly admitted, or they can insert their scores and GPA into the simple equation to the side of that to find their index score. And if it's above 5.55, they will be directly admitted to the School of Business. There's no separate application. They just have to indicate business on their application to KU, and that doubles as their application to the School of Business. And for seniors who are applying for 2021 admission, we have an updated test optional pathway for those students. So if they don't have a test score, that's okay. As long as they have a 3.4 or higher GPA, they can still be admitted to the School of Business without that test score. So that will hopefully give your students some more flexibility when applying to the School of Business and to KU. So that is for incoming freshmen with direct admission, either with a test score or without a test score. And then, as Chris mentioned, we have a competitive admission for students who maybe switch majors, don't meet our direct admission requirements, or transfer to KU from another institution. And they can apply when they have 30 credit hours, a 2.5 or higher GPA, and have completed 3 of our foundation courses. The curriculum is overall exactly the same with these 2 admission pathways. The only difference is when students would do our new professionalism platform, with our directly admitted students starting that platform right away, and our competitively admission students starting that platform once they're admitted to the School of Business. Everything else in the curriculum is the same. If you have students who are concerned about competitive admission, that you can have them contact me, but they'll still be on track for graduation just with their peers. And so next I'll talk about 2 of our scholarship and enrichment programs that you might have students who are eligible to apply for, and we definitely are encouraging students who are eligible to apply for these programs. So first is our business leadership program, which is a 2-year small cohort program, so freshman and sophomore year, about 30 students in each incoming BLP class, and they do a lot of networking events, professional development, and have an added focus on building leadership skills. And in the first year, they develop those leadership skills, and in the second year, they apply those leadership skills to a project to help improve the School of Business, KU, the Lawrence community. They have a lot of flexibility on what they choose to do for their second year project. And so to be eligible for that program, students can have either a 3.8 or higher GPA, so that's our test optional pathway for the 2021 Business Leadership Program recruitment cycle, and then or they can meet a 3.5 or higher GPA and a 28 or higher ACT or 1310 SAT. So if they meet one or the other of those eligibility requirements, they can apply. The scholarship is $2,000 for the first year and $1,000 for the second year. And if you have students who are eligible, the priority deadline is December 15th, with the final deadline being February 1st. And we will be sending email invites out to eligible students by the end of this week and over the next month or so to encourage students to apply. So definitely have students check their email, or you can send them to our website to find that application. One update we did make to this application is we have mirrored the honors program. So you'll hear in a little bit from Dr. Sarah Crawford Parker about the honors program. And if students are applying to both, they can literally just copy paste some of the same essays. So that will make it a bit easier for students who are wanting to apply to both programs. Our next scholarship program is our MultiCultural Business Scholars Program. Oh, Lisa, do you want to go to the next slide? Did it not work? Oh, there it goes. No. Can everybody else see the slide and not me? Okay, there it is.
Sorry, my internet
so our
was being slow.
That's okay. Is another smaller cohort of students. It is a 4-year program, and students can enter either directly out of high school. It If they're admitted to the business school, they can apply, as well as our students who are doing competitive admission can apply to MBSP before they're admitted to the business school. And then transfer students can also apply to MBSP. And to be eligible, students either need to be a first-generation student or Pell Grant eligible based on the FAFSA, or an underrepresented racial minority. So students who hold one or more of those identities are eligible to apply. This program does similar things to the business leadership program in terms of professional development, leadership development, getting connected to resources on campus, and then having some structured advising and career development with our business career services. So it's an awesome program. The scholarship is around $2,500 per year for 4 years. So if you have interested students, the deadline to apply is March 1st, or the priority deadline is March 1st this upcoming spring. And if you have students who are interested in wanting to learn more about the business school, we're doing a variety of virtual visit options, and students can go to that website, and I'll link it in the chat as well. To see all of our virtual visit options, they're also on the visit.ku.edu website that Lisa mentioned. Our website does have our virtual view book that has all this information I just talked about, as well as links to the websites for BLP and MBSP. We have a virtual tour of Capitol Federal Hall if students are wanting to see the inside of our building. And then there are some pre-recorded presentations in English, Spanish, and Arabic, or students can register for some of our live visits each week to interact with me, as well as some of our current business students from our ambassador program. And then we are also doing a Women in Finance webinar in a couple weeks. So if you have any young women who are interested in studying finance, definitely encourage who have indicated an interest in finance. And then there's also a registration link on the visit.ku.edu website for that event. So if you have any questions after today, like Chris said, you can contact me or Chris, and we're happy to chat with you, to chat with students about anything about the School of Business, any of our scholarship programs, admissions, AP or dual credit courses, any questions you may have. All right, and so next is Dr. Sarah Crawford Parker with updates about the honors program.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's good to see some familiar faces out there. I hope everybody is staying well, and I'm just really glad to be in conversation with you today. So I thought what I would do is just start by giving some program updates, and then at the end of my piece, I'll move into some changes that we have with our application process, as well as some information about visits. I think, you know, one of the things to share, I think first and foremost, is just in the honors program, we continue to be a highly rated program. The next edition of Inside Honors, which is coming out shortly, again, gave the University of Kansas Honors Program a top rating. And so we are tied with 6 other programs nationally for public honors programs. And so I think that was certainly really important for us to see right now. And I think it speaks to the quality of the programs that we have, as well as, you know, really what our students accomplish when they're here. We have students who do amazing things in the honors program and at KU. And so that really, again, I think speaks quite a bit to what students will find here. One of the things I wanted to share initially is just, you know, what does the experience look like for students who are coming into the honors program right now? And one of the things I wanted to leave you with is that we really have a strong network of support for our students. I think KU overall does an amazing job of supporting undergraduate students, but wanted to give you a picture of what this looks like in honors. All of our students, when they come into the honors program, whether it's as an incoming student directly out of high school, or if they apply to the honors program as a current KU student or a transfer student, they take an honors seminar in their very first semester, and whoever teaches that seminar, whatever faculty member that may be, that person becomes their honors mentor. And so that's really the person that's going to stay with the student throughout their time at the university, get to know them really well in the classroom, know their interests, know what their goals and aspirations are, and really work with them to make sure that they are finding all of the opportunities they need to realize those goals. And so that might be undergraduate research or service learning or internships or global opportunities. But that mentor role from the start is an important part of what we do. All of our incoming students are also assigned an honors advisor who will really work with them on course enrollment and course planning and really looking at if they want to combine maybe 2 majors or a major and a minor, or if they're doing some certificates, really working out that detailed planning. For students who come into the university in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences or as a deciding student, their honors advisor is going to be their primary advisor in their first year. Students who come into one of the professional schools like business and engineering who are in conversation with us today, they actually have advisors both in honors and in the school. So really bringing that expertise to the advising experience. And then the last piece, which we've realized this year is incredibly important, is the peer-to-peer support. And so every student, when they come in, they have an honors seminar assistant who is a current KU student who works with a faculty member teaching their honors seminar, but also is there to really help students to start to get connected on campus, to navigate campus, and to help them find opportunities as well. And so I think we found that, having that combination between faculty, staff, and student expertise is really important, particularly at the beginning, in helping our students know, what they want their experience to look like and be. So just to highlight, we continue, I think, to be a highly interdisciplinary space. We're really looking for students, who have a range of different academic interests and really focused on, answering big questions, thinking about grand challenges. And I wanted to share, the honors seminar is sort of the starting point for students in our program. I'm highlighting 2 from this fall semester. On the left, you'll see Professor Nilu Vakal, who is a faculty member in architecture, who is teaching an honors seminar on inclusive cities. And the image, which is very small, but is a couple of weeks ago, her students, they went down to the Lawrence Public Library. They're all wearing masks, they're social distancing, but really thinking about what is the role that libraries play in creating healthy and inclusive communities. So that's a really great conversation for our students to be having at the very beginning. And as part of that seminar class, they're getting to know one another. They're also getting to know campus, and they're getting to know the city of Lawrence. On the right, you see Professor Dave Tell from Communication Studies, who is teaching a seminar on the history of communication. He's also taught our University Scholars Seminar, which is for sophomore level students. Has out a highly acclaimed book, Remembering Emmett Till, and so doing some really interesting both teaching and research with our students. His seminar this fall is on the history of communication, but what I really like and value about his seminar is that he's worked with the KU Alumni Association to access the Jayhawk Career Network, which is really our alumni mentoring platform at KU. And he's identified 4 honors graduates who are working in the field of communications, and they are coming in, I think, next week to do some work with students in his seminar. And this is activity, certainly we have happening in honors, but also in other spots within the university. Our Jayhawk, alumni are incredibly excited to be supporting students, and they have a significant expertise to bring to conversations with students. So that's something that we're also plugging into our courses. And then just briefly, some programming updates for us. We launched 2 signature programs this year that have been incredibly important to our students. They started in person and now, they're virtual, but we've actually seen higher levels of participation now that they're virtual, which I think speaks to access, but also the need for these programs. The first one is Take Care Tuesdays. We have an installment, I think, going out this afternoon in about an hour. These are regular installments with our students about how to cultivate well-being as a college student. And they feature a range of different resources that students can read and watch and join. But they also feature current KU students, sometimes our alumni, sometimes our faculty. So through these conversations, students are getting to know people in our program. We also have a second program called Living in Color, which is a program that centers the experiences of students of color in the honors program. This is a program that has significant faculty and staff support, but the exciting thing about it is that the topics are generated by the students themselves. Just last Friday, they had a great panel, an alumni panel, students of color who've gone on to pursue graduate school and professional school, and they're doing some mentoring of our current students through this program. So again, that's another way for students to connect to resources, but also build community. And I think, let's see, so just some application updates. Some good news is that this year the honors application is linked both to the KU application and the Common App. So students can, if they want to apply to honors, they can do so through both of those channels. However, sort of following what Dr. Melvin shared, we decided, I think back in September, to go test optional for fall of 2021. Because the application for admission was already programmed way back when, Lisa will know when, back in February maybe, you can't, in order to access the honors application, you have to put in a standardized test score, either on the KU app or the Common App. And so if you have students who want to apply through the test optional pathway, they can go ahead to our honors website, and I've given you that on the second bullet point. I'll also put it in the chat, honors.ku.edu/apply, and they can apply directly through our website. One important thing is you're talking with your students. We do have a new approach to our application review this year, and we've changed some things on the application. So instead of a resume review, we now have replaced that with 3 short answer questions. So students do the 3 short answer, and then they also do their essay. One of the things that we found is those short answer questions are really giving students some additional space to talk about what's important to them, and we're really getting to know our students better. Both the short answer questions and the essay questions are also on our website. So if students want to take a look at those, think about those ahead of time before they apply, certainly they have access to those questions. So would really encourage them to take a look at that. Our priority deadline matches the scholarship deadline. So it's December 1. Really encourage students to get their application in by December 1. We do have a late consideration deadline, which is January 15th. But again, we expect that most of our students will apply by December 1. I think it's worth sharing with you, admissions is amazing, and students get their general KU response pretty quickly. Lisa, I don't know if it's about 48 hours or so. Please, do let your students know that it takes longer with the honors application, because we really do give each application an individual read. So it will take several weeks for them to hear back on that, but we're going through those as quickly as we can. And then last piece is we have in-person and virtual visits. They're on our website, but they're also linked through the Office of Admissions website. But we are happy to talk with your students, and in fact, eager to do so. So please send them our way. And I will also put my email in the chat. So I think that's the honors wrap up. And so with that, I will hand things over to my good colleague, Dr. Chris Wiles in the School of Engineering.
And they're doing a virtual Scholar Day this week as well to students. So
tomorrow evening.
Yes. And so we're excited about that. Great attendance, over 150 have registered. So really excited about our virtual Scholar Day for our students who are interested in the honors program. So Dr. Wiles, what updates you have for engineering?
Thank you, guys, and thank you to everyone for joining us. If you can jump to the next slide, Lisa. So there are 57 Tier 1 research universities in the United States that offer engineering at the highest level. If your students are prepared to study engineering and attend any Tier 1 engineering program that does their program, they will get a world-class education. Just 3% of U.S. institutions bring in about 70% of all the resources that go into the field of engineering in the United States today. KU is the only such institution in the state of Kansas or the surrounding region, and we're a little bit different from most of those programs in a couple of important ways. So the primary two are in terms of our foci and in terms of high technology and design, and our size. I don't think most people think of KU as a small place, as a lot of resources and opportunities available due to its size, but we're actually the 3rd smallest Tier 1 engineering program in the United States. Our average class size is 20, We are 94% faculty taught. And frankly, both those numbers are sort of unparalleled in our field today. Our emphasis on undergraduate education means that your students are frequently going to encounter people who are professionals in their field that are truly experts at what they do. So all of our faculty are research active and active teachers. By the nature of our program, we attract some incredible faculty. If a professor wanted to hide in a lab at a national university and never see an 18-year-old student, it would be very easy to do. That's how most programs are structured. Here, they come on board knowing they want to and will be interacting with top students from day one. So you have some pretty incredible faculty. You have one of the world's most famous computer engineers, Brian McClendon, the inventor of Google Earth and Google Maps, the graphics behind Nintendo and CGI for movies. You have former vice presidents of Apple, Uber, and Google. You have the recently retired president of Ford Motor Company. These are all people who meet with and interact with students on a daily basis. Brian actually emails every student in the department every Monday morning to post his office hours on a Google sheet and invite them to come see him and talk. He doesn't even take a salary. I don't know if I embarrassed him by saying that or not. He just wants to work with smart kids. So that's a rather unusual profile for a school of this size with these opportunities. And opportunities are really the key. For us, the goal is to help students figure out what it is that they want to do in their academic discipline. Our classes are exclusively structured in an interactive learning setting. It's very hands-on. It's group-based problem solving. And we feel like we do an excellent job in that setting. About 80% of our graduates graduate in 4 years, and that is fairly unheard of in our field as well. In the state of Kansas, only about 30% of engineers that start will graduate with a degree. So we're very proud of the level of our undergraduate education. Can we skip to the next slide, Lisa? So at the end of the day, the big metric for most people for success is how you do coming out of college. Engineering is unlike any other field. The placement rates are always quite high. Average salaries are tremendous. Of the 21 best paying jobs in the United States today, 19 require an engineering degree. If your students can do math and have this interest, there are going to be a lot of opportunities. In engineering, we have our own in-house career center that does a tremendous job bringing about 200 companies per semester on site. We do have freshmen who have interned at places including Facebook, Amazon, Google, NASA, the spaceship company, SpaceX. It's not that your 18-year-old student miraculously knows a great deal at this point in their career. Supply and demand dictates that these companies hire and start training students very early in the process. Internships are universally paid. We've had interns make as much as $48,000 at a summer internship. It's a pretty wild field, so we really try to get them rolling quickly, figuring out what they want to do. In engineering, it's more of a matching system than going out and hoping for a job. It's trying to figure out what it is you want to do, getting that experience, and then matching you with the employers in that field that do it. In-house, they do their own coaching, workshops, interview prep. Employers routinely rent out our facilities for the day to try to get in front of students. At the end of the day, our connection rate means our students are working in their chosen field of study. We're not counting them if they're flipping burgers. 95% of our students are working the field of engineering within 6 months of graduation. That again is a superlative number that we're quite proud of. One thing your students might look out for, we're hosting a whole series of industry events this year. Because of the nature of the restrictions on travel and the opportunities to visit campus, a lot of the things we usually do, we can't. So we reached out to alumni and asked if their companies might want to host engineering-specific events for prospective students interested in their field. Amazon, Google, NASA, Koch Industries, Kiewit, Burns McDonnell, Black & Veatch, any number of employers have responded, and we'll be hosting events over the coming weeks. Around 20 companies so far have offered. We had an event last week with NASA, and it was phenomenal. I think it's extremely helpful to students as they try to figure out what it is they want to do, and to a lesser extent where they want to do it. We'd love them to be with us, but it's probably very important to give them opportunities today to explore those fields. So I do recommend, please do push those out if you see those opportunities. We're happy to make those connections as well. And finally, the thing that we lecture on the most, your students will hear this from me all the time and from our staff, if you have a student who says they're interested in engineering, we can't emphasize enough the importance of mathematics in terms of their preparation. This isn't specific to KU. This is any student who wants to study engineering anywhere. I like to say I didn't like math in high school, and we're not trying to make them into math majors. It's that to be successful in engineering on day one in terms of their education, they will be applying calculus concepts in all of their other coursework. Part of the reason we are so successful with our students progressing through their programs, retaining and graduating, is to always take the most advanced math coursework available. If they have not completed pre-calculus in high school, they are not prepared to study engineering. This is incredibly important. So we're really, times they'll take summer coursework with mathematics. Certainly you're not going to be able to progress in your other fields. So we really want to make sure that that message is out there. We do take in-person visits. We are meeting on a limited basis wherever our schedules permit. If your students want to visit campus, please do encourage them to reach out. We think it's extremely helpful. We have them meet with an advisor. They're able to look at our phenomenal facilities. We're always happy to serve as a resource. So I will turn it back over to Lisa. That's you, Lisa.
I know, sorry. I could not get to my unmute fast enough. And yes, I wanted to make sure, thank you everyone. I hope you found that information to be very helpful. I wanted to make sure to kind of recap the information that actually all of our direct entry schools do have a test optional path. So you heard from business and engineering today. Melvin shared the just general assured admission requirements, but all the ones who do admit freshmen do have a test optional path for admission, even our architecture and design programs. So we encourage your students to apply for admission to the University of Kansas by that December 1 deadline, or earlier. Hey, by November 1, if they'd like to get some KU swag and be admitted early and start having those notifications sent to them. We wanted to be sure to share all of that information with you and encourage your students to visit our campus. We are always here to be resources for you. So if you have questions, you can reach out to me. Heidi Simon oversees all of our recruiters. And so if you have any questions about our admissions reps or contacting your rep, feel free to reach out to Heidi or anybody that was on the call, this virtual call today. Do you guys have any questions that you'd like to, that we haven't clarified, that you would like to know about that we can help with? Feel free to unmute or add it to the chat. We covered everything really well today, right? We will be sending a PDF version of the presentation out today, as well as a recording of this presentation. So if you would like to share it with anybody in your schools that were unable to be on, be sure to do that. Again, we'll be sure to list any of the resources. Oh, and we do have a great question. We forgot to mention this. We are super scoring for both admission and scholarships. This is our first year that we're doing it. So that is exciting news for students. And yes, this will be the first year that we've done that. So so thank you to Laura for asking that question. On the application itself, we are having the students list all of their subject exam scores from each test that they have taken. And then the University of Kansas is calculating the super score. So the student is not sending us the super score, and we will super score for both ACT or SAT. So they just send that to us, and we use their best subject scores and do that. And that, oh, Marilyn, if you can let me know where it says that on the website, it should say we are accepting super scoring. So if we have something wrong on our website, let us know. But we should have that information that we're super scoring, and all the schools are, as the professional schools are as well. and the honors program. We were all super scoring. Cynthia asked a good question about changing majors, and I'm going to have Elizabeth maybe talk about that. Elizabeth definitely has an advising background, but I would certainly say it depends on what the major is and also the professional school, because you don't want your student to fall behind and not graduate in the time frame that they're interested in. So Elizabeth, what other guidance do you have for that?
Yeah, I can speak just a little bit, since sports management and journalism is not the department I advise for, but we do have a lot of business students who double major or do minors in those areas. So I've looked at the sports management requirements and journalism requirements somewhat, and for those two, I want to say the first year is probably very similar in terms of focusing on KU core requirements that every KU student has to do. So, and then they would be able to explore both sports management and journalism in that first year while also meeting KU core requirements. And so that gives them some flexibility to try both out and stay on track. After that first year, it might be more difficult to switch. So I would definitely have that student get in contact with the School of Education and Human Sciences as well as the School of Journalism. But I believe in that first year, there is some more flexibility, but once they get farther along, it'll be more difficult. Enter their school wanted admission.
I'll jump
And that's all I know about those programs.
And I'll jump on here, and Sarah Crawford Park will appreciate this from my honors background. There is always, where there's a will, there's always a way to double major, or triple major. We've seen crazy things. The key is talking to an advisor early on, starting that conversation now and not next August. Those two programs do work pretty well together. They are both structured, but it's possible to do. Just be, they'll help you put those paths together. But that's always a key for any double interest. Let us know early. We'll sit down and figure that out.
Yeah, and I'd also recommend that student take an opportunity to visit. Journalism's doing individual visits. Education, I think, still doing some visits, and I think outlining the curriculum, and he or she can get a kind of a feel for that curriculum, what's required, and at some point, that's always a helpful discussion with that student to get down to the curriculum, to that level of detail, and to say, okay, what gets you get more excited here? The journalism track and going that route, or more the management, the administration? Certainly, you can cross-pollinate, but sometimes you find the students, once they see that curriculum, it's where the rubber hits the road, and they go, oh, I can get more excited about that than this. And again, it's a great time to do that right now, as Chris starts. Once you start the game, you're on this ramp to try to get through in eight semesters, hopefully. If we can do some of that work beforehand, it just helps anchor that student to a curriculum as fast as possible.
Someone asked a great question if we're continue to super score past the December 1 deadline. And yes, but I don't know about the honors program. I actually haven't asked honors that. If they didn't get admitted to honors, but then retake the test and want to have that for honors consideration, will you super score? How long will you take that for super scoring?
We're really, I would say, Lisa, gosh, we haven't talked about that, but, we may have to get back on that.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about that for honors, but for admission purposes and merit-based scholarships out of financial aid and scholarships, as long as they apply by December 1 and continue to take the test and send us updated scores by April 1, we will super score. But I'm not going to say that across the board, across the campus, but for the general admission and merit-based scholarships, that's what we're doing.
We are, I will say, Lisa, we are preparing to send out our first round of admission decisions. And when students receive those notifications from us, they will have information about what to do if they later have academic information that they want to update. And so I would say, really encourage students to watch whatever communication they get from us, because that will walk them through next steps. So, and that's a good thing for me to add to my list.
Great questions. What other questions do you have? We really appreciate your time today. We hope that you have found this to be valuable. We would love to see you guys back on the KU campus at some point when it's safe to host a counselor event back on our campus. Or if you want to just come with your students and come on a campus visit, feel free to do that too. But we're going to stay on for a few more minutes. We have this scheduled until 3. We'll stay on for a few more minutes in case you have questions. If not, we understand that you're very busy, and we just greatly appreciate your time. It's nice to see many of you. I know we see many of you when we do our counselor events and when we actually come to see you. So this is a little different this year. Sherry Shockey, I would like you to know we did go get our pumpkins, and I don't know what you did this year, but my children had to buy the largest pumpkins in your pumpkin patch, so I've never spent that much money on pumpkins in my life, so I'm not sure what you did this year, what kind of fertilizer you used or whatever it is. But we loved it. We've been there every year since 2008, so we love that.
I think they like the virus.
I think so too. I was like, why are these so big? I was like, you can't even lift those in the wheelbarrow. We're not getting that pumpkin. So, but we did anyway, because they talked Mom into it. So, but we'll stay on for a few more minutes, and if you have any questions, let us know.